Chosen one. They told you it was just a rough patch. That life is random. That pain is a part of growing up. But deep down, you've always known that couldn't be the whole truth. There's something inside you that refuses to settle. A voice no one else seems to hear. A fire that won't go out even when life keeps pouring rain on you. You try to blend in, but the world never lets you forget. You're not like them. You feel too much. You see too deep. And no matter how hard you try to ignore it, something keeps calling your name from within the silence. What if I told you, you're not broken, you're not cursed, you're not lost? What if the storms you've endured were never punishments, but preparation? What if your pain was prophecy in disguise? What if the reason you've never felt normal is because you were never meant to be? You weren't built for average. You were born marked, set apart. You are a chosen one, and not because you begged for it, but because heaven assigned it to you before you ever took your first breath. That's why your story has always been different. That's why people left, why doors closed, why things that work for others never work for you. The calling on your life is heavier. Your path is narrower, and your spirit was never made to conform. It was crafted to carry divine purpose. But here's the thing. Most chosen ones don't even realize they're chosen. They just know they're exhausted, misunderstood, constantly in transition, fighting battles no one sees in silence. This video isn't for the masses. It's not for the comfortable or the crowd pleasers. This is for the ones who've been wrestling in the dark, questioning their worth, begging for clarity. And if you're still here, it means something inside you recognizes this message. This is your confirmation. You are not watching by accident. Over the next few minutes, I'm going to show you 7 signs, clear spiritual indicators that you are one of God's select few. That your life hasn't been random, it's been orchestrated. That your trials weren't setbacks, but divine signals. And by the end of this journey, you'll stop asking, why me? And start realizing it had to be me. You'll understand why God chose you and why hell tried so hard to stop you. So take a deep breath, open your heart, and let's begin the unveiling. The truth is, the moment you realize you're a chosen one, everything changes. God, you've always known you were different, but not in a way the world celebrates. You weren't the loudest, the most popular, or the one everyone gravitated toward. In fact, most of the time you felt invisible, like the room could be full, and yet somehow you were alone. But hear me when I say this, that feeling wasn't rejection, it was redirection. See, the chosen one is never born to blend in. From the moment you arrived on this earth, something about your spirit refused to conform. You looked at life differently. You questioned things most people never dared to ask. You felt deeper, loved harder, hurt longer. And while others seemed to float effortlessly through seasons, you always carried weight, like you were born with an invisible responsibility. This is the first sign. Not just feeling different, but being different in ways even you can't explain. You were never wired for shallow living. Small talk drains you. Surface level faith frustrates you. You crave meaning, purpose, depth. While others chase comfort, you wrestle with conviction. While they ran from the fire, you stood in it because somehow you knew the flames weren't sent to burn you, but to reveal you. That kind of difference isn't random. It's divine. Because when God selects someone to be his vessel, he breaks the mold. He separates them not as punishment, but as preparation. You weren't overlooked. You were hidden, set apart, protected from places that would have destroyed your purpose too early. That's why you've never fit in. That's why no matter how much you tried to just be normal, you couldn't. Because normal was never your portion. Normal doesn't build warriors. Normal doesn't shake kingdoms. You feel like a misfit, but misfits are often heaven's architects, the ones who carry ancient assignments inside fragile skin, the ones God calls to walk alone because they'll one day lead multitudes. So if you've spent most of your life wondering why you're wired so differently, why your heart aches in ways others can't comprehend, that's not weakness. That's your anointing. It's God's fingerprint on your soul. You were never meant to be understood by everyone because you were designed to be set apart for the one. You're not crazy. You're not too much. You're not broken. You're marked. And when God marks someone, no amount of rejection, confusion, or delay can erase the calling. This is your wake-up call. You're different because you're chosen. There's a pattern you may have noticed in your life. People walk away, doors shut. Opportunities vanish right before you reach them. You've been ghosted, betrayed, overlooked, and each time it cut deeper than the last. You start to wonder, what's wrong with me? But what if I told you the rejection you've been collecting wasn't a curse, but a covering? Because when you're a chosen one, God won't let just anyone sit at your table. He won't allow just any voice to shape your identity. What feels like abandonment is often heaven's way of clearing out distractions before your destiny arrives. Let that sink in. You weren't rejected. You were rescued. You were being pulled out of places where your spirit would have suffocated. God removes access so he can protect your anointing. The calling on your life is too rare, too holy to be tampered with by temporary people. And that's why they had to leave. Even when it didn't make sense. Even when it shattered your heart. You see, when you're chosen, the crowd becomes dangerous. Popularity can dilute purpose. Acceptance can rob you of alignment. So instead of letting you blend in, God pulls you away. And when you try to hold on to what he's trying to remove, that's when the pain deepens. Every no, every closed door, every person who disappeared without explanation, it wasn't random. It was a red flag waved by heaven. They can't go where you're going. Imagine if God let you keep every friendship, every relationship, every open door. You'd be surrounded by people who didn't have the capacity to carry your calling. And some of those people, they didn't reject you. They rejected the light inside you. They couldn't handle your depth, your discernment, your destiny. Your presence reminded them of who they weren't ready to become. So they ran. Or worse, they tried to control, diminish you. But rejection in the life of the chosen one is often divine validation. It proves that heaven has plans for you that don't include settling. And when something or someone exits your life without warning, let them. Don't chase what God had to tear away. He only removes what no longer aligns with where you're headed. So here's the truth. If you face waves of rejection, back-to-back loss, friendships that fade without closure, it doesn't mean you're unworthy. It means you're being positioned. God doesn't elevate you in front of the wrong audience. He prepares the right stage with the right people at the right moment. Chosen ones walk through seasons of subtraction so they can enter their season of sacred alignment. And that's where you're headed. The rejection wasn't the end. It was the edit. You're not being left behind. You're being lifted out. There's a war you've been fighting that no one talks about. Not in sermons. Not in support groups. Not even in your closest circle. Because it's invisible. Internal. Spiritual. You smile in public, but you're bleeding in private. You show up, hold it together, get the job done. But at night, it feels like you're drowning in a flood that has no name. This is not just stress, not just anxiety. This is warfare, and chosen ones, without even realizing it, carry the weight of battles that were never meant to be theirs alone. That heaviness, that tension in your chest that no rest seems to fix, it's not always yours. Sometimes it's a spiritual climate you're walking through. You're absorbing the atmosphere of broken homes, conflicted workplaces, generational curses, and unspoken grief, all because you're wired to feel what others ignore. That's the third sign. You fight what others can't even see. And that fight doesn't make you weak. It makes you dangerous, because the enemy doesn't attack empty vessels. He targets the ones carrying something sacred. And you carry divine blueprints, legacy, calling, healing. And hell has tried everything to stop you from discovering it. The depression wasn't just chemical, it was strategic. The delays weren't random, they were designed. Every attack had an assignment: silence your identity before you fully stepped into it. But you're still here. Wounded? Yes. Scarred? Of course. But awake, aware, and more anointed than you even realize. The pressure you feel is proof that your life has weight in the unseen realm. The deeper the battle, the greater the purpose. Some nights you cried yourself to sleep without knowing why. Some mornings you woke up tired, even after rest. You felt things breaking in your soul that had no name, no shape, no reason. But what if the battle wasn't about what's wrong with you? What if it was about what's right with you? What if your sensitivity is a signal, not a flaw? What if your exhaustion isn't weakness, but evidence you've been standing on the front lines, interceding for people who don't even know your name? Chosen ones don't get normal lives. They get refined in fire. God doesn't just use them, He builds them in darkness. The battle was real, but so is the breakthrough. And if you're still breathing, it's because the war didn't break you. It built you. And soon the very pain that tried to bury you will become the platform that launches your purpose. People often come to you with their problems, even when you never offered. Strangers open up to you in grocery store lines. Friends confide in you at 2 a.m., not because you have all the answers, but because your presence feels like truth, like peace, like home. And from a young age, you've carried a level of insight that confused even the adults around you. You were never really a kid, not in the way others were. While they chased noise, you searched for meaning. While they joked, you observed. While they played, you pondered. That's the fourth sign. Chosen ones carry wisdom that cannot be taught. It's not from books or mentors. It's written into their spirit before they even have language for it. And it manifests as a kind of quiet knowing, a divine intuition. You just sense things. You can walk into a room and feel the tension no one's speaking about. You can hear someone's words and still recognize what they're not saying. And more often than not, people leave you saying, "I don't know why, but I feel lighter after talking to you." That's not random. That's spiritual intelligence. That's prophetic wiring. You're not just smart, you're aligned. You carry a discernment that sees beyond performance, a heart that hears beyond the noise, and a soul that understands pain that isn't even spoken. But here's the thing, they never taught you how to steward that gift. No one told you that being wise beyond your years could also make you isolated, misunderstood, dismissed. People assumed you were being dramatic, overthinking, or too intense. But in reality, you were seeing what they weren't ready to face. You were feeling what they couldn't handle. Chosen ones are often spiritual mirrors. When people stand close to you, they see themselves more clearly, sometimes more than they want to. And that's why they either cling to you or push you away. But your wisdom isn't for validation. It's for liberation. You weren't given eyes to merely observe, you were given vision to reveal. You were meant to guide, to awaken, to stir the sleeping places in others. That inner clarity? It's divine. That emotional radar you carry? It's sacred. Don't downplay it. Don't hide it to make others comfortable. The world needs voices that carry truth without shouting, insight without ego, presence without pressure. And that's who you are. If people seek you out when their souls are tired, if your words linger in their minds long after you've spoken, if you've ever known things you had no reason to know, you're not just gifted. You're marked. You're trusted with revelation. Because you, chosen one, were born to lead not by volume, but by light. Have you ever gone through a season where everything and everyone seemed to disappear at once? Friends stopped calling. Doors stopped opening. The noise went silent. The spotlight moved elsewhere. And suddenly, it felt like the whole world forgot you existed. But here's the truth. Most people never tell you God hides the chosen ones before He reveals them. That's the fifth sign. Divine isolation. Not punishment. Not rejection. But preparation. Because before God elevates you, He separates you. He pulls you away from the distractions, from the noise, even from the people you thought would always be part of the journey. And while it may feel like you're being forgotten, you're actually being formed. In the shadows, in the stillness, in the silence. You see, public impact always starts in private obscurity. You're not invisible. You're in incubation. You're not behind. You're being built. God doesn't launch destiny on impulse. He crafts it in secret. And if your life has felt quiet lately, it's not because you're being punished. It's because He's getting ready to release something through you that can't be touched by public opinion or worldly validation. Look at the greats. David was anointed in the field before he ever stepped into the palace. Joseph was called in his dreams long before the throne. Even Jesus spent 30 years in silence before 3 years changed the world. Heaven hides what hell can't handle. And when you're chosen, your timeline won't look like everyone else's. While others are building platforms, you're being built in private. While others are gaining followers, you're gaining roots. While others are chasing visibility, you're cultivating depth. Don't despise the hiding. Don't curse the silence. It's sacred. God is removing the noise so you can finally hear his voice without filter. The isolation you feel isn't a dead end. It's the narrow hallway right before the door swings open. And when it does, you won't be the same. You won't need validation. You won't crave applause. You'll walk with authority because your identity wasn't shaped by the crowd. It was forged in the quiet place with God. So if this season has felt lonely, disconnected, even hollow, don't run from it. Sit in it. Let it refine you, because you, chosen one, are not being left out. You're being set apart. There's a fire inside you that no one sees. It doesn't have a name. It doesn't have a roadmap, but it burns quietly, constantly, like a heartbeat you can't silence. You've tried to ignore it, tried to numb it, tried to live like everyone else, but you can't. Because no matter how normal your life looks on the outside, something inside you keeps whispering, there's more. That's the sixth sign. Chosen ones carry a deep sense of divine assignment, even when they don't have the full picture. It's like your soul remembers something your mind hasn't yet understood. You know you weren't born just to pay bills and survive. You weren't placed here to blend in, check boxes, and die unnoticed. You were sent. Sent to shift atmospheres, to break patterns, to change legacies. You feel it every time you walk into a place and immediately sense what's broken. You feel it when you're around people and you know they're hurting before they ever say a word. You've always felt the pull towards something greater. A mission, a message, a movement. And even if you don't know what it is yet, you know it's real. That tension you carry, the restlessness, the holy dissatisfaction, it's not a flaw. It's a signal. Heaven is stirring you because you were created to shake something. But the world has a way of trying to silence that voice. Responsibilities, expectations, practicality. And maybe you've been told to be realistic, to grow up, to let go of childish dreams. But this isn't about fantasy. This is about purpose. This is about the weight on your spirit that has never let you settle. Others can make peace with average. You can't. Others can find comfort in convenience. You crave calling. And that's not arrogance. That's alignment. God wired you for something different, and the ache you feel? It's not emptiness. It's early labor. It's the tension of carrying something inside you that's waiting to be born. That's why you've never been satisfied with shallow conversations or surface-level jobs. That's why you've never been able to fake fulfillment, because your soul knows what it's here for, even if your mind is still catching up. And here's the truth. Purpose rarely arrives fully formed. It unfolds as you walk. Revelation comes through movement. And even if you don't have all the answers, even if your path isn't fully clear, keep going. The burden you carry is not a mistake. It's a clue. And the one who placed it inside you will not leave you confused. So if you've ever said to yourself, there has to be more than this, you're not crazy. You're being called. Because you, chosen one, weren't just born, you were sent. You've been through things that should have taken you out. Things that would have broken someone else permanently. Betrayals that cut too deep. Losses that left you breathless. Storms that came one after another without giving you time to rebuild. And yet, you're still here. That's the seventh sign. Chosen ones cannot be destroyed. Knocked down? Yes. Wounded? Often. Shaken? Absolutely. But destroyed? Never. Because what lives inside you isn't just human strength, it's divine endurance. The kind that only comes from being forged in fire. You see, while others collapse under pressure, you somehow rise. While they give up, you dig deeper. There's something in you placed there by God himself that refuses to die. That's not survival. That's purpose. You weren't built for convenience. You were built for combat. And every time life tried to bury you, it didn't know you were seed. Pain didn't make you bitter. It made you dangerous. Every time you were rejected, it sharpened your vision. Every time you were broken, it expanded your capacity. And every time you were overlooked, heaven was watching. Your scars aren't signs of defeat. They're evidence you've walked through battles and came out carrying wisdom, not wounds. You didn't just survive, you transformed. You didn't just make it out, you leveled up. That's what makes chosen ones different. The attacks don't stop them, they refine them. The pressure doesn't crush them, it activates them. You've been through what would have taken most people years to recover from, and you got up faster, wiser, and more dangerous to darkness than ever before. And maybe people don't understand why you glow after fire, why you walk with power after loss, why you carry peace in the middle of chaos. It's because God didn't just let you go through it, He built something in you through it. And now, you carry fire in your bones. Your story is no longer about what hurt you, but about what couldn't stop you. Your life is a testimony that resilience isn't something you learn, it's something you awaken. And that awakening is what makes hell nervous. Because a chosen one who knows their survival wasn't luck, but prophecy, that's unstoppable. So the next time you feel weak, remember this: you've already made it through what was meant to kill you. You don't just carry pain, you carry power. You don't just carry trauma, you carry testimony. You don't just exist, you embody victory. Because no matter how many times life tried to take you out, it failed. And that alone is proof you were never just anyone. You were chosen. So now, pause for a moment. Look back at everything you've just heard. The battles, the isolation, the depth, the fire, the rejection, the resilience, the restless pull toward purpose. This wasn't just a list, it was a mirror, a reminder, a revelation. And if something in your spirit resonated, if your heart whispered, "That's me," then hear me clearly. You are not random. You are not broken. You are not lost. You are chosen. Chosen doesn't mean easy. It doesn't mean applause. It doesn't mean fame or comfort or having all the answers. It means responsibility. It means resistance. It means being refined in places no one else sees so you can carry glory that no one else can fake. It means God looked at the timeline of history and said, this battle, this assignment, this generation needs you. You didn't volunteer. You were commissioned. And that's why the attacks have been intense. That's why the road's been narrow. That's why you've cried silent tears no one ever saw. Hell knew you were dangerous before you did. But heaven knew you were ready. And now it's your turn to remember, not just who you are, but whose you are. You carry legacy. You carry light. You carry kingdom. So stop apologizing for being intense. Stop hiding your depth to make others comfortable. Stop questioning your journey just because it doesn't look like theirs. You weren't made for normal. You were made for impact. You were born to interrupt generational curses, to break chains others were too scared to touch, to release truth in places where lies have ruled for too long. And maybe life hasn't been fair, but it has been prophetic. Every delay was alignment. Every heartbreak was redirection. Every rejection was protection. Nothing was wasted. Nothing was random. And now, as you stand in the tension between who you've been and who you're becoming, know this: the world doesn't need more noise. It needs more truth. And the truth is, you are one of God's select few, a chosen one. And this awakening is not the end. It's the beginning. Now rise, step forward, step fully, because heaven has already said yes. The only question left is, will you?